Basics of interior design. Introduction. An interior designer is simultaneously an artist and a problem solver. They are tasked with creating wonderful spaces for their clients. These include privacy, connections, enclosures, adjacencies, functions, sound, view, furnishings, lighting, mood, color, and more. The solutions are layered and intertwined, intricately creating specific effects. Topics covered. The topics we will cover in this module: qualities and skills of an interior designer, evolution of interior design, becoming an interior designer, definition of design terms, meeting your clients. The skills and qualities that an interior designer must have. As an interior designer, you must major in creativity, both in spirit and in practical terms. You must have the capacity to see issues differently, think laterally, and experiment with unique ideas that must also have practical applications, and you must be able to complete all those factors to the satisfaction and budgets of your clients. What makes an interior designer? Commitment and motivation. To be driven to change, improve or restore the interior environment. To have the vision to see through creative ideas to the end. To have belief and confidence in self-expression. To have the management skills to supervise all disciplines and aspects involved. Organizational abilities. To products, suppliers and services. To be good at finding solutions. To be disciplined. To meet deadlines. To be a team player. Hands-on skills. To be able to produce hand sketches or CAD drawings. To have good analytical and problem-solving skills. Communication and perception. To be perceptive of people's personalities, needs and aversions, and to be sensitive to these. To ask the right questions to find solutions. To have good verbal and written communication skills. Evolution of interior design. Like everything else, interior design has also evolved with time. Major past events, scientific breakthroughs, pioneers and influential figures have all had a marked impact in this field. During the medieval times, designers regularly took inspiration from the customs and practices from the Assyrian, Roman, Greek, and Egyptian periods. But with passing time, cultural importance has taken a backseat to newer innovations and styles that we associate with our ever-changing modern world. Since the Industrial Revolution, subjects of arts and sciences along with engineering have flourished immeasurably, being adequately backed by the ever-improving technologies. People started to lead more comfortable lives than before, and the interior designs began to mirror those changes. 1880 to 1910, Arts and Crafts Movement. As mass production became the norm and people started to lead fast-paced lives, a few pioneers started the arts and crafts movement. They started the movement as a reaction to the increasing dependency of society on machines, and their goal was to move the focus back to the traditional craftsmen and their designs. Wood was a widely utilized material and one of the distinctive aspects of the designs. Arches were another feature and were typically placed over fireplaces, windows and doors. 1890 to 1910, Art Nouveau. Following the arts and crafts movement, Art Nouveau was also a reactionary movement inspired by the natural structures and forms instead of mechanical influences. Trees, plants, flowers, and swirly water were lavishly imitated in decor and furnishings by the designers. Art Nouveau preferred taking inspiration from the organic forms as opposed to historical designs. The French use of color and the fascination with Japanese art and design at that time helped shape Art Nouveau. This movement was relatively short-lived though, as the designs relied heavily on highly skilled craftsmen and couldn't be mass-produced easily. The Modern Movement. The modern movement was born of necessity because designers started to realize traditional representations in architecture, design and art were no longer keeping up with the fast-paced and continuously changing modern world. This movement left the eclectic Victorian and the luxurious Art Nouveau styles behind. Simplified versions were preferred to fineries and technically and financially sound manufacturing methods were preferred to traditional ones. Steel, concrete and glass were the key materials used, and industrialism was welcomed with open arms. 1917 to 1931, De stijl. De stijl is the Dutch term for the style. Also known as neoplasticism, this was another major art movement of the 20th century which left marks on architecture and design. Cubism was one of the fundamental principles of this direction of designs. It aimed to bring absolute simplicity through color and form. All the complex components were broken down into simple straight lines and basic geometric forms, while only the primary colors, red, blue, yellow, white and black, were used. The famous red and blue chair designed by Gerrit Rietveld in 1917 is a perfect example of the De stijl art movement. 1920 to 1940, Art Deco. Art Deco took off in France during the early 1920s and became very famous internationally. Bold shapes and synthetic materials replaced the organic forms and lines from the Art Nouveau era, and the smooth and streamlined finishes looked futuristic. Color changes were vivid and contrasting, and its use of symmetry was striking. At the time it represented modern advancement and glamour. Some of the international examples of Art Deco architectural masterpieces include the Chrysler Building in New York and the Hoover Building in London. The Great Depression and World War II caused this style to diminish, but it rose again during the 1960s with its sleek lines and elegance. Use of new materials like plastic and stainless steel became popular, and sophistication was added through a various combination of lacquered furniture, hardwood floors, inlays and stained glass. Bauhaus. Bauhaus design is probably the most influential design of the 20th century. It was founded by a German architect called Walter Gropius. This creative movement had a major impact on architecture, design and art trends across the world during the early to mid-20th century. Bauhaus preferred aesthetic principles and pure forms of geometry. It married technology with art and craft seamlessly and more productively than any movement before. It also favored new and original designs to imitative ones. Advancement of synthetic materials and the multifunctional steel helped the smooth and structural Bauhaus designs to hit a whole new level. Bauhaus style emphasized on the simplicity of structures, and during this era, built-in furniture became conventional across households as well. Mass production was also welcomed in this movement. Becoming an interior designer. Since you've decided to study this course, you probably have a natural flair for design and decor. Here are some tips to help you. Keep a sketchpad, pencil and camera with you at all times. Be observant no matter which house or building you are in at the time. Take note of features, styles, color schemes, materials etc. and take pictures if permission is given. Create a library for all your interesting finds. Visit buildings as often as you can, including those under construction. Talk to people who use the buildings you visit. Read interior books and magazines. Check your local library interesting material. Watch film and TV for sources of design inspiration. Hand drawings are a great way to capture a space so you can visualize it later. Sketching can be taught if you are not a natural, and it doesn't take that long. Practice when no one is looking until you get to a point where you are more confident. An excellent way to develop your sketching skills is to attend live drawing classes. What you will need. The equipment used by interior designers is actually very minimal and cheap. Just ensure that you have plenty of pens and pencils, or have the appropriate computer programs, if your skills lie in that direction, as well as all of the following items. Drawing pads in A3, A4 and A5 sizes. Pencils, the best grades are H, HB, 2H and 4H. H stands for hardness which gives a fine line, B stands for blackness. Scale ruler, 1 to 100, 150 and 120. Adjustable triangle. Drawing compass. Scissors. Erasers. Scalpels. Drawing pens. Measuring tape. Paper, good quality in A3 and A2 sizes and tracing paper in the same size. T-square. Paints and colored pencils. Glue sticks. A portfolio case to transport your work. Definition of design terms. You must show the clients that you are the real deal by talking knowledgeably and understanding the unique terms used in your profession. Below are some frequently used terms. Adjacency, the relationship of objects or spaces near each other. Angular, when straight lines meet at sharp points. Balance, the overall sense of evenness in the design. Contour, this is the outline that has a slightly more nuanced meaning. Corners, walls at 90 degrees to each other. Curvilinear, a flowing or curving line or an outline of a shape bounded by curved rather than straight lines. Emphasis, a dominating element, feature or strategy. Flow, movement within a space. Flush, when surface runs flat with another. Gestalt, it means to have an overall sense of something, to view a project as a whole and not as just the sum of its parts. Grayscale, working with black and white and all tones in between. Harmony, the coexistence of all aspects of design. Hierarchy, the order in which things happen. Holistic, taking an eagle-eye view instead of a microscopic one. Integral, an important part. Labyrinth, complex arrangement of spaces. Layers, for example, finishes, furnishings, lighting. Motif, a repeated element like a pattern in textiles that gives a rhythm to the room. Monochrome, monochrome means to work with one color. Muted, colors that are softened or dimmed, made and less bright. Negative space, the empty space between objects. More negative space allows what's in the positive space to stand out more. Overlap, when functions, activities or spaces merge. Perimeter, the outlines or edges of a plan. Radial, lines radiating from a common center. Scale, the relationship of elements to each other. Rectilinear, the opposite of curvilinear. This refers to a shape consisting of parallel and perpendicular straight lines. Sequence, the user's experience as he or she moves through the building. Structured, designs that are strongly geometrical, based on straight lines. Symmetry, visual and physical balance. Wedge, an area or form between two other areas or forms. Translucent, allow light through but not well-defined images. Meeting your clients. When meeting potential clients, first impressions really do matter. You almost certainly won't get a second chance to convince a paying customer to take you on, so this part of the course will give you a good idea of what you should do to make a great impression from the get-go. Don't allow the conversation to focus on you, but try to create a relaxed atmosphere by talking about something neutral like the weather or the current topic, but keep it light and positive. Prepare yourself for anything that might be asked. This could be about your home, your experience as a designer, or about other clients. Dress professionally and stylishly, but not in a way that attracts too much attention to yourself. Try to avoid loud colors, patterns or eye-catching accessories. Taking your brief. Allow your client to finish talking before interrupting them by asking any questions. You will be able to sense when they are unsure and require creative solutions. Ask questions you need answers for. Some designers find it useful to send a prepared questionnaire in advance of a meeting. Who else lives in this space? Are there any children or pets? Describe the occupant's lifestyle and how much time they spend there. How often do friends or guests visit? What is it about how things are now that doesn't work well? After you've determined the use and function of the building and any problems that arise, you can move on to the style. Be observant and take notes about the shape, size, natural light and flow in each room. Make sure you are clear about what the client wants you to achieve and repeat back to them to make sure you've got it right. Be aware of the personalities you are creating the space for. Take measurements you need to make along with sketches and plans. Some designers also take photos at this point, which can be helpful. Ask your client about any plans or drawings of the building that may exist. When you finish the meeting, explain how you work, including an idea of timescale, fee and payment structure. When you return to your working space, put together your notes, impressions, measurements and pictures while everything is still fresh in your mind. This can also be a good time to jot down ideas that I've come to you so far. To protect yourself and your client, it is important to make the agreement formal as soon as possible. Contracts need to be clear about the outcomes and the expectations from both sides. Summary. What have we learned? Creativity is the main element you need to become an interior designer. Throughout the ages, historical events, discoveries, inventions, and significant people have influenced design and style, including interior design. The strong classical traditions from Egyptian, Greek, and Roman times influenced designers of interior space right through the Middle Ages. You will need to get better all the time as a designer and, therefore, should develop habits and practices to maintain the flow of inspiration and creativity, as well as the growing skills to see each idea through to fruition. First impressions really matter. You don't get a second chance to make the first impression.